Hi, Krista. How are you?
Hi, Christy. I'm great. I'm so happy to be here.
I am so happy to have you. And we'll just share with people before we get started that we are very good friends. We've been friends for a very long time. I refer to you as my spiritual running buddy. We've done a lot of life together over the years and just like working through our careers, working through having families. And I just love that we get to spend this time together and talk about, all the work that you do. So thanks for being here.
Oh my gosh, you're one of my favorite people to talk to. So it is such a pleasure and an honor to be
Oh,
here.
same, same. So
Yeah.
let's start with how your career journey first began and what led you to take an interest in nutrition.
Yeah. So I went to an all-girls high school for our Philly friends, Mary and Mercy, and we would be doing our crash diets for prom and for dances, and I was just so interested in like how weight came off your body. And I was like, I would like to learn more about the science behind this. And, at the lunch table at junior year of high school, we were just eating like iceberg lettuce and oranges and trying all the fad diets of that time to be like, how do we lose weight? How do we fit in our dress? So that kind of like spurred my interest because some of us would be successful at weight loss, some of us would not be. And then all the impact that had emotionally and all that kind of stuff. So it just fascinated me that that was something we had control over. So I wanted to learn more about how it worked. And boy, did I get a lot of science.
I mean, that's interesting because I actually didn't know that part of your story. I didn't know that
Yeah.
that's how it sparked the interest for you.
Yeah.
So, nutrition, I then saw became a huge passion of yours and led
Yeah.
to a career in nutritional counseling. Can you tell us more about how you came to incorporate a more holistic approach to nutrition?
Yes. So from high school, I found a program at University of Delaware. I went through the whole nutrition and dietetics program and graduated with a bachelor's, but then you have to become a dietitian, you have to go on to do a year of non-paid internship. And so I did that the year after I graduated. And that was awesome because it gives you an opportunity to work in different areas of nutrition. So I was able to work for 6 months in a hospital setting, for a few months in a food service setting, a few months in community outreach. So it gives you a whole different viewpoint and vantage point to see what you like, what you don't like, and that kind of thing. So I knew from early on that I really wanted to work with healthy people. I didn't want the people that were already diagnosed, and there's a whole area of dietitians that we need for that medical nutrition management and therapy. But for me, I was so interested in keeping people healthy because I thought that's really where our money and our energy should be focused is when people are healthy, let's keep them there. Let's keep them well. Let's educate them on how to stay that way. So I was able, luckily enough, after college, like wellness back then was just a foreign, it wasn't even a thing yet. So I had a really hard time finding a job after my internship. And I knew I didn't want to settle for clinical or for food service, which, were a plethora of options. So I was able to lock in a corporate health coaching position. So I was able to work in a health enhancement company that catered to corporate wellness. So we coached, there were 3 other health coaches that were hired with me, another dietitian and 2 exercise physiologists. And then in the company, we also had registered nurses that would help with disease management. So we did the health enhancement and the healthy living goals with our clients, and then the nurses helped with disease management if people had diabetes or heart disease or any chronic stuff. So it was awesome. It was so great to get that interdisciplinary experience with hearing what the exercise people would say, hearing what the nurses would say, hearing what the other dietitian would say to people around healthy living and just keeping well. So I love that experience. And I was able to work with over 5,000 clients. We had multiple corporate contracts that we were getting from I think that's when the wellness buzz started to happen in the world. So companies were jumping on it for employee wellness and that kind of thing. So it was really beneficial. And from working and hearing from over 5,000 people, I realized like a lot of people aren't talking about food. Food's foundational, but there was this whole other underlying stuff, like emotional stuff that people were dealing with, where they weren't happy in their jobs, so they were overeating, or they were in a marriage that they weren't happy in, so they were turning to food or alcohol. So there was so much there that I wanted to unpack, but I just didn't feel like it was in my scope. So luckily, I started dating my now husband, and he had known somebody that went to this school in New York called the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. And he's like, this might be what you're looking for, like something a little bit more holistic, to be able to speak to these stressors that people are experiencing, but still fit under your umbrella and under your scope. Because I love talking about stress management. I love talking about the emotional stuff, as you know.
Yeah.
And like the philosophy behind wellness and what makes us really well from the inside out. And food is a huge component of that, but it's not all of it. So IIN, we call it, the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, that was so pivotal for my career professionally, but also personally. I was just able to do a deep dive on my own wellness, learn from hundreds of people that I had their books on my shelves, like Deepak Chopra and Andrew Weil and Mark Hyman. They were all our teachers. So it was just fascinating to hear from these people that have developed the theories on wellness and diet and how they do it in their practice. And they all contradict each other for the most part. So it was just so humbling to be like, wow, we really don't know anything. Like for me, I was so programmed as a dietitian to say, you're the nutrition expert. And that never sat well with me, because I was like, I know what's best for me, or at least I'm trying to know what's best for me. But to say what works for me will work for you is just not true. So I had to have this, what IIN taught me was learning and holding space for the bio-individuality of every person. So that's really where this, it kind of tied everything together for me. All my interests and passions was with, they call it primary food. So the primary food theory talks about the foods that nourish us on a much deeper level. So things like your relationships, your career, your spiritual practice, and your physical activity. So if any of those areas of your life are not balanced, or you don't feel great in those areas, there typically is an overdependency on the food we eat. So it was just so fascinating to kind of put all that together. And I was like, finally, I have a language to talk to my clients about, to say like, hey, just let me know if you want to talk about primary foods or secondary foods, and then kind of take it from there. So that's kind of where I landed with my counseling.
It's amazing, because I'm thinking back as you're telling me all that to, I did know you in the beginning of that experience. Yeah. And I remember there's something that I'll never forget that you had said to me. And it was that, you can drink as many green smoothies as you want, eat as many salads as you want. Like, that's not going to fix any root issues of emotional problems. And
that's right.
That was like mind blowing for me, because it didn't speak to me necessarily personally. Mm-hmm. But I could see how many people have turned to overeating, or who have turned to alcohol or other things, because there's all that underlying stress going on that hasn't been worked out. And you actually helped me start to see a more holistic approach of like, as a person, we can't just look at and treat one thing or the other. Like, when we were younger, we were very much so like, you were either on a fad diet, or I was really into working out. And I was always into like, what's the new workout and how can I keep myself looking fit, right? Mm-hmm. But without thinking of what that was doing to me emotionally, to be obsessed with that.
Right.
That like really, and green smoothies, you introduced a lot of us in our, around here to green smoothies that many of us still drink. Yep. And I just started to realize, okay, I can't just become obsessed with like this one way of eating or this one way of exercising. You have to make an approach that's more treating yourself as a whole person, but also to look within yourself and pay attention to all the things within yourself that need that attention too. So it's been really fun to watch you on your own journey. Just to see all that you have, you've been eager to uncover all of that And it's amazing to see how you're then able to give all that knowledge to everyone around you and in your work. And so as you continued on your journey of nutritional coaching and holistic health group coaching, you also got married, moved to the other side of the country, and had a baby. So I want you to tell us how all that shifted the course of your career in a way, and more specifically, what was your experience like pre and postpartum?
Oh boy, how much time do we have?
That's a loaded question.
Oh my gosh, what a wild ride, right? And to think about, where I was with the, what we just talked about, like that area of my life with the nutrition coaching and the corporate health, like it just feels like a lifetime ago, because it's, all the moves we did around the country. We moved west about 8 years ago, my husband and I, first to Sausalito, which was heaven on earth, and we just had the best time ever. It was a year after we got married, and we were, just a year of honeymooning, it felt like. So that was awesome. And then my husband got a great job offer up in Seattle with Microsoft. So we took that opportunity. We moved up there. I got pregnant within 2 months, which was a surprise and a blessing, and all the things. And so we were in a lot of life changes. So we were in a new place. We didn't know anybody in Seattle, in the area. My husband started a new job. I was entrepreneurial. So to move twice in 2 years, you can imagine it's tough to build a network and kind of keep things going. So I had a few clients from Philly that I was doing over the phone and that kind of thing, but it wasn't in my mind. I'm such a planner. So when I wanted to become a mother, I always wanted my business to kind of be there, like set up so that it can run kind of without me, and I have some passive stuff going on and staying in touch with people. Well, it was not at all that at that point. So as soon as I found out I was pregnant, a whole cascade of emotions came. There was so much gratitude, obviously, but a lot of fear, and we didn't know what the heck we were doing, and we were never around a lot of kids. Like I have a lot of cousins and I have 2 younger sisters, but it never occurred to me like the ins and outs of childhood development, or how to raise a healthy human. Like that stuff wasn't at my disposal or interest, because I was so focused on adult health and wellness and psychology and philosophy. But so anyway, have a beautiful pregnancy. It felt great the whole time. I was doing my green smoothies. I was trying to eat as healthy as I could and be active and listen to my body also, like really trying to tune into intuition. So I think that was kind of the starting point of releasing some of the external noise and information, because we're so overloaded with information these days. And silencing that and using my pregnancy and this whole invitation into motherhood as a initiation into my learning about internally and my own intuition and what my body and what my own makeup is asking for. So that was huge. So that was beautiful in that own right. And then after I had Damon, my son Damon he just turned 5, so this is 5 years ago, but and lots of healing and help has gone into what I'm about to say. But I was almost 2 weeks late, and they were talking about inducing me. I had been working with midwives and trying to do the whole natural, earthy birthy kind of delivery, and doing the best I could with like mantras and hypnobirthing and all that good stuff and my birth plan, and I had essential oils. I wanted a home birth. I wanted a water birth and all of those things. But what ended up happening, I think, was pivotal for my work in the world. So I'll preface it with that. And we had a natural way of inducing me because I wasn't going into labor on my own. So my midwives recommended a verbena oil mixed with castor oil, and I made up in a smoothie with some nut butter and mango juice. So I took that. I started having contractions on my birthday, April 7th, and then my son was born on April 10th. So 3 days of labor, not really progressing that quickly. And we were working with midwives, so we were at a birth center. And they told me after the second day, you should probably go to the hospital to start Pitocin because your contractions keep stopping. And I may be skipping around a lot in this story, so forgive me. But what ended up happening was we got transferred to a hospital, which I did not want at all. I just didn't feel safe there. My husband's super squeamish, so we just didn't. I was never a patient of anything medical, so it was all very foreign to me. And I just did not want a C-section. I was a C-section baby, and I really wanted a natural vaginal birth. So I think, there's so many lessons in all of the control and all of the, the things that I was doing at that time, but ended up with a C-section, ended up with a beautiful, healthy baby, and a whole lot of trauma for me to work out. So it was a lot at the time, and it still is a little bit raw, but I've done a lot of work around it. And I say all of this to just give moms a voice and to say that there can be a healthy baby, but it may not be a healthy mama if the emotional state is not, quite right yet. And I think culturally we're getting there, but it is not there at all to the point where we need it to be, where we're taking care of the mothers. And I think that I was so fortunate. I had a really great support team and I sought out a lot of great resources in the Seattle area where we had Damon to help me on my path. But it was a wild emotional ride for myself. I mean, Damon was great. He was a great baby. We had, awesome experiences as far as he's concerned. He was awesome in his own right. But it was just my husband and I, we had trouble as a couple. We were rock solid prior to having Damon, and I think that brought up a lot. It brought up a lot of stuff around family of origin things, how we want to raise our baby, what are the things that we want to pull from our childhood and carry on, what are the things we want to discard, and how do we make a healthy narrative for Damon around generational healing and that kind of thing. So it was a lot. It is a lot. I mean, parenthood is big, and I am a firm believer in using parenting as an opportunity to reparent ourselves and to heal a lot of the wounds that we carry as humans from culture, our own childhood, or whatever people have said to us that are just not true, but we may have that voice carried on. So it's a lot of that kind of stuff that I use in my day-to-day that I'm trying to heal simultaneously to navigating tantrums from a toddler. So it's crazy. It's a lot of stuff that I think we need a lot more support. I think we need a lot more honesty around how hard it is, and not in a complaining way, but just an honest way of like, I love my kids. I absolutely adore Damon. He teaches me so much on a daily basis. He is awesome about sticking up for himself, telling people what he needs in a kind way. And he teaches me a lot about doing that for my own self. So I think kids have so much wisdom, and we as adults, my philosophy is to honor that in him and foster it, as opposed to saying, no, I'm your parent, I know what's best for you, because I don't. He knows, and I want to foster that trusting in his body, that trusting in his intuition as much as I can.
I love that. And this is something that I also just love about you. And as we work through your story to get to this point, is that as soon as you acquire information, knowledge, or wisdom from a lived experience, you're eager to share it and help someone else. You are. That's just in your nature. And so it's great how you were able to just, take what sounds like was a really challenging experience for you. And now you're really on a mission to speak to that and to say, just like you said, and I've been saying this a lot recently too, like, we need a little bit more grace as moms to be allowed to say that it's really hard.
Yeah.
It's not to say this isn't a conversation really about like, but the dads do a lot too, but there's this, that they do,
Right.
and this is an experience that the whole family has to work through. But as a mom, we need to be allowed to say, this is really hard.
Yes.
And, our children are amazing, incredible, and I agree, teach me so much on a daily basis. But it is a challenge, and we do need more support than I think we have historically been given.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many challenges and obstacles to manage with a new baby, especially, not
Mm-hmm.
only in terms of having this new being that needs your attention and your care, but also in navigating how to still care for yourself and your
Mm-hmm.
relationship.
Right.
So, as we said, your own personal experience inspired you to help other women and couples to navigate these tricky experiences. Can you tell
Mm-hmm.
us more about the support groups and the workshops that you now facilitate?
Yes. Thanks for asking. And thank you for the beautiful feedback. I think I don't hear that, and I appreciate it. And I think that, yeah, the support is key because for me, in my experience, the hearing other moms say what they were going through and saying in a group setting, like, hey, I've been up all night and I am losing it. And, I'm losing my patience and this and that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not the only one. Like, I'm sitting here in my four walls thinking I'm the only mom that can't get this kid to sleep. Or for other moms, it's like that they can't get their kid to have, feed from the breast. So there's just so many things that other moms are going through that you're not alone. You're never, ever alone. And I think that is, social media and all the things that we see, it's the highlight reel. So we see Pinterest, we see people's beautiful nurseries, we see them set up, we see the Santa pictures, we see them with the Easter bunny. And some moms can't get up out of their beds, or some moms can't get out of their house or get their kids dressed, or it's constant fight. So I'm really sensitive to that, and I want to make sure that people know that they're not alone. And the passion that I have is, and my husband too, we were so fortunate with the books we read and the courses we took and the people we were exposed to, the experts we were exposed to in the Seattle area. So he and I, we are trained in the Gottman Institute, and they have Bringing Baby Home, which is a course we took as a pregnant couple when I was pregnant with Damon, and thinking, we were listening to all the information. We're like, this is great. This is really good. But, we're good. We're okay. We've been friends for a while. Like, we were married for a couple years before we got pregnant. So we felt like we had a great foundation and we were rock solid. Well, then the baby comes and you're out for a few weeks without sleep, and then all the things come out. So it was so beneficial for us to take the course again, to be trained as trainers and educators for this work, because the Julie and John Gottman, they're absolutely amazing. They're excellent marriage and family therapists. The Gottmans have so many books. They're really prolific in their writing, but they also offer so many great resources for free, but also workshops that you can pay. And they have train the trainer events. So that's what we took advantage of to now offer it to our area. So what we did was we took that after Damon was born and learned, and hearing it after the baby's here, I think is so crucial, because it's great to have the frame of reference as you're pregnant or as you're like embarking on the journey. But then when you're in it, I just think it hits differently. You can feel things on your skin when you live them. And when you hear this information, or when you hear the tools and the tips that, as John Gottman points out, he talks about relationship tools as these are what the masters of relationships do, and here's what the disasters of relationships do. And he gives awesome, and this is kind of what we talk about in the course, but there's all these exercises to help strengthen the sound relationship house. So that's one of their theories. So there's just so much information. There's so many eye-opening exercises that you and your partner can delve into when you're sitting in the workshop. And that's what we offer for new parents. So that's one of the things that we love doing, and we always get a lot of information and insights when we offer it. And we joke every time we offer a course, we get in a huge fight because it's like, why are we doing this? We're not perfect. Like, we're definitely not, we're not able to do this. Like, we're not able to teach these things. But we joke with our couples that, like, we are on this path with you. Like, we are definitely not the experts. We're doing just as much work on a daily basis as you are. And, you know, it's hard. You guys are, I think the couple, you know, they are bringing in so much from both their histories. You have this shared bond with the new baby, but you, like you mentioned, you have your own needs, your partner has their own needs, and now the baby's needs really trump both of your needs because they're the most vulnerable in the family. So there's a lot of dynamic shifts happening within the relationship that are really hard to navigate on your own when you're together and when you can't see through it. You know, you're in it together, so it's hard to rely on one another as your support team, which you know, that's what you have. But for me and for my husband, we've always thought getting external support is so valuable, because when you're in a hard spot, when you're in a pinch point in your life, it's very hard to zoom out, and it's very hard to see that this is not forever, and that it can be solved. It can be held with grace and moved through it. It may not be a problem you need to solve, but you just need support to move through it.
I think it's amazing that you guys, I mean, just that you had enough wisdom to know that you should seek out, you know, help or resources. And again, that you're now motivated to do that for other people. But it's also important to note that you're destigmatizing just the idea of reaching out for help when you need it, you know, because I think especially in relationships or just in our culture in general, it's like, you know, we in the past have not really felt comfortable enough to be vulnerable and to reach out and to ask and to get the support you need. But when you speak about it that way and you explain just how beneficial it's been for you, and then to see clearly how it will be beneficial for other people, I think it's eye-opening and a reminder that, you know, it's important to be vulnerable. It's not easy to be vulnerable, but it's important to keep trying to seek the help if and when you need it, which we all need help in some way, right?
Totally.
In some way, but really in many ways, you know? And it is okay. And I'm wondering, what's the best advice you could offer to a new mom who's feeling utterly overwhelmed by, you know, the new experience of having a brand new baby?
Oh gosh. Oh my gosh. Well, the word advice, if we want to pick that question apart, it's just so hard because you hear so much advice from people that you don't really want to hear from, or it's unsolicited. And I think, you know, just in hearing this question of like, what advice would I give? I have no idea. Like, this is part of this is part of the unlearning that new parents have the invitation to do, is like, just shed all the things you think you know and get down to the root of your intuition. Like, what do you need? And what I think is so helpful as a new mom was like not thinking long term. Like, you can't really, you got to do minute to minute. Like, it was such a mindfulness practice having a newborn, because it's like, okay, let's just get through first nap. You know, like, let's have a snack for me, like make sure I'm like basic needs. It's like, get through basic needs and just set your bar there. Like the Gottman's joke, it's like, we don't need perfect relationships. We need good enough relationships. We need people to both feel satisfied in the relationship. And I'm like, how liberating is that? Like, we don't need to find the one. We have to make the person we're with like good enough to be with each other for the rest of our lives. You know what I mean? So it's just like with new moms and the advice stuff, it's it's a tricky situation, because what I've seen and how I've lived this is your thought of what that other person may need, by you voicing that, it can be received as criticism. So what I mean by that is, when you're saying something like, oh, you look tired, like the baby looks tired, maybe the baby needs a nap, in the mom's head, or at least this was my experience, is like, you're thinking I don't know my baby, or that I'm not doing something right and that you could help me in some way. When really, I think, people have the best of intentions. They want to help you. They want to do whatever you need to support you through this extremely vulnerable time. And I do believe that that's at the root of everything. But what my husband and I both encourage new parents in our workshops, and anytime I'm talking to new parents, is be super, super, super duper sensitive to your needs, like get clear, and then in a way communicate that kindly to your loved ones and to your tribe, because people want to cook for you, people want to help you, people want to come to your house and hold the baby. But if that's not helpful, tell them what is. And it doesn't have to be a conversation, because I know confrontation is very hard for me and for others too, especially when you're exhausted, and that's like the last thing you want to do. So what we did was we hung like things on our fridge. So if people came over, and COVID makes everything really hard, but on our fridge we had like things that needed to be done. So we didn't have to say anything. It was like, we're going to hang something on the fridge, like pick whatever you want, like take the trash out for us, or make us this recipe. Like you could text your friends or your family and be like, here, people have been dropping off so much like pasta, so would you mind doing this recipe, or getting us this from this restaurant? So you're specific. And then people, I mean, imagine if a friend was saying that to you, you'd be like, awesome, like this is so easy for me to accomplish meeting your needs, so I think that can feel hard in the moment, like you don't want to tell people, because I don't know, this is like kind of my journey. But it was like being clear, being articulate, and if it's emailing or texting is easier, like do that, but make sure people know what your needs are and how to meet them, because nobody knows that except you. But it's your work to get clear on what that is. So I think that's really the invitation for new moms, and not advice, but like the request, or like just an idea that I would present them, is to take a moment and dig deep on, what do you need in this moment? It could just be a shower. It could be a hug. It could be like, take the baby so I can scream into the pillow or cry. Like whatever it may be, just know yourself. Like you know yourself best. Give yourself that time. That's a beautiful gift. And it's a form of self-love. Like giving yourself that moment to think through, what do I need? Do I need 2 hours planned ahead of time to be alone and to like shave my legs, or go for a walk outside, or brush my teeth, like whatever, eat with a fork? Like these are luxuries as a new mom.
They so are. They so are.
Hard. So it's like, it's so important to just say it, and there's a lot of shame wrapped up in it and all the things. But I would also encourage finding your squad, like find a support, whatever that is, whether it's family, whether it's friends, whether it's people with the same age kids, whether it's a support group. I work with Empowered Postpartum. It's an awesome nonprofit. Now, because of COVID, everything's virtual. So anyone listening around the globe can participate in their support groups. They have ones that are for toddler parents. There's ones that are for more than one parent, or parents that have more than one child. There's ones for right after you give birth. There's ones from 0 to 24 months. So there's ones for dads, a group for navigating dadhood. So there's a lot of groups within Empowered Postpartum, that nonprofit, and they're all complimentary. So there's no, you don't have to pay to join, but we're just there for people. We're there to hold space, where we pose questions, we do highs and lows of the week. And it's nice. It's just nice to be with people that are going through the same thing. And their experience may be a little different, but in general, everybody's going through the best of times and the worst of times. Like, it's a vulnerable journey, and it's okay to say that it's not all great. So I think
Absolutely.
that's important too.
And I think that it's great to acknowledge that there's support outside of what you think is your support system.
That's right.
I
Yeah.
think sometimes people think, okay, yeah, I have a support system. I have mom, dad, sister, brother, cousins, whatever. But maybe sometimes you need support from somebody outside of that circle,
Yeah.
because maybe it's just a little too close to home. Feelings are all caught up. People's feelings can get hurt over how you react or whatever. And you just need to offload what you're going through. I think it's awesome that something like that exists in this nonprofit, that you have that sounding board, you have people who can speak of a common experience, and you don't have to feel like it's a burden, or that you're getting any of that pushback that you might get from someone that's close to your family. I love everything about that. Switching gears a little bit, I just wanted to discuss, so often on this podcast, we talk about compassion. It's my favorite topic to talk about, especially because I like to hear how many varied responses I get to this same one word, compassion. I'm wondering if you could tell us how important you think it is that we maintain a healthy dose of self-compassion, especially as moms and parents.
Oh, girl, that's like the name of the game. Honestly, I don't know how people get through it without that. So I think it's the heartbeat of mothering and getting through life. It's this that has been my journey, is to learn that for myself, learn how to give that to myself unapologetically, and to say, like, yeah, that was not good. Like, what do we need to do? not harbor the criticism and ruminate over all the things that could have happened or that should have happened, but to just say, it's okay. Let's work to fix this, or let's work to do it better next time. Or have they, like, for me, it's so interesting because with working with so many women, it's it's like almost hilarious that we can be so nice and so kind to everyone in our world, and everyone, and then in our own minds we are so mean, and we are so harsh, and we are so critical, and it hurts my heart. And when I hear women say kind things about themselves, I am like blown away with gratitude that they have gotten to that point on their own journey and their path, that they're actually voicing it. Like, that's huge for, I think, women in general, and the lineage of what we're waking up to in this point in our time on earth. Because for so long there's been so much silencing and so much shame and around so many things, woman and mother. So for me to see the just kind of the shift with body image, with food, with mothering, with partners and relationships, with showing up as a wife, as a house caretaker in the home, as somebody that's caring for the children most of the time, like, there's a lot of shifts happening globally, I think, with women waking up to their power and waking up to their to really the goddess within themselves. And I don't say that lightly. And I think that there's just so much reverence I have for people that are doing the work to honor themselves and to honor what they need, and to be able to say that in a way that's kind and creative and tactful and full of ease and grace, is like the highest form of self-compassion, I think. And to know that we're getting to that point, I'm excited to see what happens next.
I totally agree. And I think that you said it already, but just watching other women do that and show up in that way themselves, it just creates this ripple effect, because I'm personally impacted by every single female that I see. step
Mhm.
into their own more fully and step out and speak out about things that are shifting. Like you said, there's
Yeah.
major shifts happening, and it's very exciting to feel a part of the shift. And I
Mhm.
also think it's very important, like you said, that it all be done in grace and tactfully, and that's
Mhm.
not easy to do. It's not easy to
Mhm.
be a part of the shift, and or to step into those things yourself and to do it in a graceful way. But we're
Mhm.
seeing it done more and more every
Yeah.
single day by incredible women who are leading the way in all of those shifts. And I mean, I said it in the beginning, I'm going to say it again. You're my spiritual running buddy, have been for a really long time. And I think that we've done that for each other in a lot
Yeah.
of ways, you know, like you are one of those people that I get to see what you're doing. We're doing completely different things in terms of our work, but I think that there's still that same common thread of, you know, wanting to evolve, wanting to
Mhm.
learn and absorb as much as we can so that we can do better, be better, and
Yeah.
then wanting to spring that forward and encourage other people. You know, I
Mhm.
don't want to acquire all of this knowledge for my own, just for myself. You know, I do want
Yeah.
it for myself, and I do want a better life every day, you know, and I think that the more we learn, we're able to do that. But then to be able to give that to other people feels like a huge gift to me. And
Yeah.
being able to give it to my children more than
Mhm.
anything feels like the
Mhm.
greatest gift of all, because you mentioned this earlier, the generational things that have been passed down to us are not to be faulted of the people of generations before us at all.
Mhm. No.
But I do find that I personally feel like it's our responsibility to digest what we know about the past and to choose maybe differently,
Yeah.
and to create you know, just higher standards maybe
Yeah.
of what
Yeah.
we're giving to our children, because then that
Mhm.
only gives them the courage to do the same, right? Like I do want my kids to get to the point where I am and do this same sort of like soul searching, shifting, figuring out how to elevate what I gave
Right.
them, right?
Yes. Yes. That's, I think, every parent's dream is like to see their children in their full potential and trusting and having the confidence to radiate that into the world. I mean, that's my prayer for Damon. And I want to make sure I'm checking myself as much as possible to not be projecting onto him, to not
Yes.
put my own stuff on him. And so that's the work that I mentioned around the reparenting and just the, I mean, this goes into shadow work. We could talk all day, but it's like all of the things that you and I talk about and that we're working on actively in our own lives is so important, because that's how we can shift the way we show up for our kids. It doesn't have to be words. It's just little decisions that we make and little changes that happen. That is what's going to create a life, and that's what's going to create the memory of them in their childhood. So the you know, the day-to-day fails and wins are nothing to get hung up on. Like, be aware of it and move on. But
Mhm.
um, I think for me, you know, you mentioned around the tact being hard to like say these things or be able to speak out about these things. And for me, I think about the human being, like the birthright is creativity. That's like the gift that we were all given. And as a every one of us has feminine and masculine energy in us. And the beauty of the feminine is that we have that ability to create this beautiful masterpiece of our life and this beautiful masterpiece of how we create our words in the world. So, like you said, around the generational healing stuff, it's absolutely not to fault anybody, but to really, for me, it's a thanking, like, thank you for giving me all this kind of soil to go through to find the gold nuggets, because there's wisdom and there's so much power in the darkness in order to find the light. So that's kind of the alchemizing that we have the opportunity to do on a daily basis, which is overwhelming.
Certainly is. But
Yeah.
there's also it's a part of the process. If you're willing to do the work and you're willing to take it on, there's so much, like you said, so many golden nuggets to be found and so much more beauty to be found if you're willing to face it. You and I could talk about this for another 3 hours. So I want to, but I feel like actually we should probably schedule another episode to just dive into that. I think we're going to do that next season. We'll have Christa back on. So lastly, can you tell us how we can best follow along with all that you're doing and access all the incredible goodness you have to offer with your workshops?
Yes, of course. Thanks for asking that. So you can find me on Instagram. I'm at Christa Mantey. And we are going to be offering a lot of online stuff with COVID. With the workshops will be all virtual now. And I'm going to be starting a gentle weight loss, fierce self-love online coaching group.
Ooh,
so that'll be for mamas and women that are trying to lose weight, but also want to do it in a way that's not self-hatred and, hate myself thin kind of thing. So we're infusing a lot of self-love, a lot of self-compassion, and understanding what your body's needs are. So that's exciting. And then another one for pregnant mamas, I do a mindful pregnancy circle every month, the first Thursday of every month, with Leah Tamari, who is my midwife. She's an excellent, she's such a powerhouse of knowledge, of spirit, of everything. She's a gem. So I would love to introduce anybody to her that is interested in joining us on the Mindful Circle. And then we do the Empowered Postpartum calls. So there's a lot of fun stuff happening, a lot of different events and online things that people can join from anywhere.
I love that. And so I will link all of that into the show notes so anybody can find you. And it sounds like your Instagram is probably a great place for people to connect with whatever you're doing. So thank you so much for being here. As always, I love, love, love catching up. And well, I already promised it. We're going to have you back on again. Whether you want to or not, you're coming back.
I would love to.
Thank you
so much. You got it.